How's it going, everyone? Thanks for stopping by. Another figure unboxing, and this one's a little bit special because my birthday just passed and this was a gift from my brother and sister that I cheekily requested. So Transformers is not something I'm super attached to. I like the way stuff looks. I kind of know the story a little bit, but I stay away from it because it's a slippery slope. But Flame Toys Kuro Kuri line has been on my radar for a bit, but they're very, very high-end toys, to be quite frank. Probably more expensive than metal build Gundams, but I think, you know what, my birthday, let's just ask for it. So let's just get this thing open. So the packaging itself is already in a plastic wrap, which is nice, so it takes care of the actual main box itself. So I'm going to take that off. So then with the actual packaging itself, so you've got a really nice cool artwork of Tarn himself on the front, really nice looking visual there with the LED lights on as well. Got a couple of logos of the manufacturer and the toy line, plus the Decepticon logo. This is Transformers Tarn Reissue. They make a point of it being a reissue throughout the packaging, which is fine actually. So if you're a hardcore collector and you want to know the difference, this one tells you the difference all the time, even on the pamphlet. I'm unaware of any actual figure differences between this reissue and the original one. Let me know in the comments if there are any significant differences. And then it also comes in a clamshell box as well. So just kind of open it and then it will reveal the figure. It's not actually that clear, so it's best to still open the figure. I think as a collector, you're not really seeing much in the box itself. So I've taken Tarn out of the box and I've had a good amount of time to play around with it. What I normally do is I go through the option parts and then the figure, but the stuff is not normally attached to the figure. In this case, I've left everything attached and I'm going to kind of do things a little bit backwards, you might say. So first, let's turn the lights off so I can show you the LEDs. They're already switched on and I'll go into those in a more detail later on where to switch them on. So let's turn the lights off and that's pretty much what it looks like. So you've got the eyes glowing there and then the chest and then the two legs. If we turn it around, you'll see the backside of the legs as well. The only lights on the backside of this figure that light up are the legs. These are pretty cool. I like these triple headlight setup. I actually like that more than the front, but the front's still plenty decent as well. It's a shame his shoulders don't light up. That would have been extra cool, but I'm still really liking the LEDs here. It's subtle enough, I think. Like you don't want to overdo it and overkill with the lights, I suppose. So it's pretty nice anyway. So if you've got well lit room or semi lit room, you know, a bit more darker than this, then it's going to be pretty good. Let's take this mask off so you can kind of see what it looks like just without that as well. It's a slight difference. So just be careful when you take his mask off. So turn the lights off again. And there we've got his head. So hopefully that made a little bit of difference. You can see a bit more reflection coming off. But yeah, I appreciate you might not be able to like really absorb the coolness of the red eyes with my camera. But hopefully it kind of gives you a good indication otherwise. Speaking of the mask though, this is really, really cool. I don't know what it is about this figure. I don't know much about Tarn in general, or Transformers you could say. But this figure just looks really good. And part of the reason I really was drawn to it was, I don't know, the mask. It's just such a slick, clean looking mask. Like just the design of it and the lines of it are really, really nicely done. So yeah, I was actually kind of worried in a sense that this wasn't actually included because the mask is not already attached to the figure. It's one of the last things that you'll find. It's actually in the plastic blister where the base is housed and the base is on top of this and this is in a small pouch. So I was worried that the mask was missing, but thankfully it's there. But you can see the details are just lovely. I love it. This is really cool. The scratch marks just kind of add a bit more character to it. So all it is, it just kind of hooks onto this little peg there into the forehead right there. So really simple to do. Just be very careful that you don't break or snap this. So be careful when you put the mask on, and especially more so when you remove the mask. And just be careful of where you put it as well, because you only get one mask. It's a really cool mask. But let's go through the base quickly. So it's just on a flat base. And if you're a mech collector, metal build Gundam collector, or other Transformers collector, or third party, you know, then you should be familiar with this kind of base. It's pretty solid, wide base. And then you get this stand right here that attaches into it. And then there's a bit that goes right into the figure. So I'm going to pop him off right now. So this actually just kind of pegs into his butt right there. And I've got him into a really neutral standing pose, so he shouldn't fall over. And then yeah, you get a little bit of an anchor point here. So you can just kind of lift it up and maneuver it how you want to. On the underside, so this is how easy it is to just remove and disassemble. So you just pinch it here and it slots out. I prefer that to what the Gundam metal build that I had. This was a lot simpler. The other one was a bit more tricky to do. But otherwise it's a pretty simple base with a little bit of mechanical details on there. So let's go through the bits that are already attached in. So first, we'll go with this little bit here. So this is like his shoulder or backpack cannon, and you can see one of them is already attached right there. So here's a look at it in its extended mode. Now my terms are going to be off, just keep that in mind. Remember, I'm not a Transformers like aficionado or anything like that. I'm not an expert on that, but I just love the way these things look. And yeah, so this is really cool. So this actually extends, so when you push it in like so, then you put it into his backpack. Same with this, and you just push that in as well. It can be a bit tricky to get this extended again, or even the first time round. This bit, especially the handle, you might want to call it, took me a while to just kind of pry it out. So I've done it a couple of times now, so it's a little bit more simple. But yeah, this looks really nice, really nicely painted as well. Some of the metallic effects on this are nicely done too. So pretty good cannons, you could say. And then to put this onto his backpack itself, so you just kind of close it like so, and then orient it properly like so. There's a slot in there. You can see I'll move it up. It just sits in nicely. There you go. Pretty simple to do. And then if you want to remove it again, just take it out. So we'll go through the rest of the backpack, but let's first now go into the cannons. So Tarn comes with two types of cannons, so a fusion cannon and a cluster cannon. I always get them mixed up. I believe this one is the cluster one and this one is the fusion one, and they combine to make some super cannon, you might want to call it. So I've got them attached to the arms already, so let's kind of detach them. So we'll go with this one first, I think is the cluster cannon. So just kind of be careful. Again, it's a super expensive figure, so take your time as you pry things off. So this sits on two pegs on the arm shield, you might call it. There's one already applied to him on the left arm, which we'll go into more detail in just a bit. So on the underside of both cannons, you'll see these holes here, or sockets. And then you'll get these pegs right here. That's where you need to slot both cannons on. They measure up nicely and they fit quite snugly. So taking a closer look at then the cluster cannon, you can see is really nicely sculpted, really nicely painted as well. Throughout, it just looks really, really cool. This end cap you have to remove, and I'll show you that in just a minute once you combine it to the other cannon as well. One thing I want to point out as well is this little bit here that does move. It's supposed to act as like a handle. In some of the shots that I saw, and you'll see in one of my footage as well, that I actually saw that this was kind of the other way around. So I've just taken it off. And I think that's just because when you do combine it, the handles end up being on one side, which probably wouldn't make sense when said he was going to be shooting or using the cannon. So I think they swap it to the other side. So you've got one handle coming out, say this side, and then the other one on the front end of the cannon coming out the other side. So it's a bit more balanced, you might say. But yeah, that was something I noticed, and yeah, I've just left it in the default position following the instruction pamphlets that's included. You get another handle here. So if you want to use it in just this cluster cannon mode, then you only need to pull that down, and then there we go. Pretty simple. Really cool looking though again. One thing is when I do combine the cannons, this sometimes comes off here, and then you just see this bit here. So you can just have to feed it back in, and yeah, hopefully it goes in to line it up right here. Same thing again with the fusion cannon. You want to pry it off slowly but surely, and it will come off. I'll leave the pegs up so you can see those. So this fusion cannon is going to be the front side of the super cannon, you might call it. I'm going to keep calling it super cannon. Again, the same thing. It's got the same sort of colors going on with that, with gold highlights and a little bit of the purple pink going on, which looks really, really nice. I like this. It's not metal, by the way. This is just plain plastic. But still, when you do combine these or have these both on his arms like I did, it will weigh its arm down a bit. So you might not want to have both cannons attached to his arm just from the weight point of view. Similarly, you get the handle here, and then you can use that. The front looks like this, which looks really cool. Let's kind of focus that if we can. There we go, looks pretty good. So yeah, overall nice looking one. Then to combine it, what you got to do first is this end bit here comes off. And then here you want to get the cluster cannon, and then this feeds in, and I believe easiest way to do it is match up the sockets on the underside of these ones. So let's put this back. So you got socket, 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 and then there we go. Once again, on the shots though, when he's using this combined mode, it's not actually this way around. It's like slightly rotated one way. That's what I meant, by the way, when it comes off. It's slightly rotated, but yeah, you guys can figure that one out. You work it out, and it will still look good once it's kind of attached to the figure anyway. So you can see the handles that I meant would be on one side. You won't get one here. So you want to change that around, rotate it a bit so it's a bit more balanced once it's operational, let's say. And then to finish that bit off, you want to take this cap off here, like so. Then get the other cap, and this kind of just slots in nicely here, like that, and then replace the cap, and then hopefully you won't lose that other cap for the fusion cannon. So yeah, it looks really, really cool. Really big weapon. Definitely a big weapon. Don't want to mess with this guy. But again, once you've got this equipped, you're going to want to use it with both hands, or have it kind of standing upright. In one hand, it's going to be a bit too heavy and will eventually weigh down whichever arm that you're going to use. So then we'll go into the arm shields. I'll show you this arm and then I'll show you the other arm. So I left the pegs up because that's where the weapons came from. They slot onto these. Pretty easy to do. You just slot them down. Pretty easy to put down. I mean, when you want to take them back up, I'll show you. You have to kind of poke around here. And sometimes you get lucky and then it'll be simple. Other times you're going to have to poke around a bit and then just bear some patience and it will lift back up. That's pretty simple. This bit does kind of click this way around here, like so. So if you've only got the one cannon on, then it probably, you might want to keep it that way, or you still might want to keep it down flush. You saw the shoulder gets in the way, but it's not always going to be the case. And then the other side looks like so. And in order to attach this onto the arm, there's a big peg. So it's on the back of Tarn's arm. So here's the peg, and then that slots into the arm right here. So just poke that a bit. And what I like about that is I had no idea about that. It was so inconspicuous, I just didn't expect it. So when I was following the instructions to assemble it, yep, it's just nicely done. Generally, I prefer his arm without the arm shields on. I think his arms look really nice anyway. They're really nice colored as well. So yeah, the shields kind of prevent that from being seen. Onto the other arm, so it's quite similar, but this one doesn't let you equip both weapons. So this is a bit weird in that I think some of the shots again are either flipped or something, because if you notice, you've got these two little protruding bits right here. In a lot of the shots, these protruding bits are at the bottom, which is actually how they are on the other side of this arm here. You can see at the top right here. So how they're on the bottom of this bit, they're at the top here. Hopefully this makes sense, but it was a bit confusing, and I think maybe that's just, you know, promo stuff, things change. But anyway, this is just an extra bit. Now this arm shield, the left arm specifically, is already pre-done in the box. These pieces are already assembled and attached to this piece, but then the instructions will still tell you how to do it. So you get this bit like that, simple to do. I've just removed it. And then similar to the right arm, you just have to kind of tug a little bit. By the way, there's this little tiny bit here. Just lift that up. That kind of goes into the forearm there. It doesn't fit super secure, but it kind of cleans up the whole thing nicely. So let's take that off again, slowly but surely. Actually, before I finish taking that off, similar to what you had on the other arm, you got these two bits here. So if you poke around here, eventually you'll be able to loosen up the bit that hopefully, there we go, lets you put the weapon on to the arm shield. So this one you'll probably end up using the fusion cannon, I believe it is. I'm going to put that back down, and then let's remove this slowly but surely. You'll feel it go, and there we go, it's come off. And same again, nice inconspicuous design, doesn't really detract from anything, but I prefer without the arm shield. Maybe one arm shield is fine, but both I think is just kind of, yeah, obstructing the nice paint that this guy has. So the backpack, so I already showed you a little bit in terms of just how to apply these cannons here. So that was pretty simple. Again, this is the same thing as what I showed pretty early on in the video. Now the backpack, sorry, can articulate a little bit. So when it sits flush, it'll be roughly like that. And then you can kind of position it. Otherwise, that's how you actually take it off. Let's put that back on. So you can position it so it shoots the cannons forward. I've just taken both of those off, but otherwise you can imagine what would happen. So yeah, you can reposition those. And then let's just take that off. This is the front of the backpack, and then this is how you would see it once it's actually attached. I think it looks fine, it looks nicely sculpted, nicely colored, like the gold that's going on here. Yeah, pretty simple otherwise. I mean, some people complain about backpacks being too big or too small or what have you. I can't really say much because, yeah, I don't know enough about Transformers, you could say. With this bit then, you can just kind of sit that back down and then let it be. Maybe this isn't the nicest bit. Maybe this should have been on the actual backpack. I don't know. Maybe that could have been done a bit cleaner. To turn the LED lights off, let's go with the legs. He's got two little bits here. So one here, and then the same thing on the other side of the leg. Very simple to take off, but again, you don't want to be too violent with it. It's an expensive toy, so just be careful. So that comes off there. And this is how it is. It's like a little box. And then there's just a switch there, and then flick it, and then that just turns it off. It's that simple. If you want to replace the battery, just unscrew it here with a really, really tiny screwdriver, and then that's it, just to change the battery. Same then on the other side. Just unclip that, flick the switch, change the battery if you need to, and that's it. We'll replace that back on, give you a closer look at how it looks without that. Replace that back onto the legs. For now, they replace quite easily. They don't seem to be causing me any issues in terms of coming off too easily and being too soft to apply, or loose and things like that. Sometimes that can happen. This is my first flame toys, so I don't really know what the QC is like, but so far it's been pretty good. Then to turn the back one off, you may have seen it already as I spoke about the backpack. Return to the back, lift up this bit here, and then you'll see the switch and a screw hole there. So if you need to change the battery, you can just unscrew it there. But otherwise, flick the switch, and then the lights are off. By the way, I did want to actually point out that, I don't know if it's just me, but I just see a face, like these are the eyes, and it's a weird looking face there on his chest. Maybe it's just me. So then let's talk about the way that this figure looks now that he's naked. Yeah, this guy looks absolutely amazing. So good. I love the colors, the details. Once you pose him as well, the articulation, okay, this is probably the worst bit of it. Once you pose him, he looks so amazing. I honestly, I could not sing the praise of how good this looks enough. I think this is one of those figures, you can talk about it a lot to your friends that don't know much. They need to see it. Even non-figure fans will see it and be like, whoa, that's a pretty cool looking figure. Honestly, this is, whew. And in terms of actual details though, in terms of gushing over everything still, the shoulders are really cool. So in alt mode, I believe that he's supposed to turn into some sort of tank. I love these tracks that are going on with the shoulders. You can see outer shoulders and inner shoulders right here, and then back around as well. This detail on this alone is pretty damn sick in my opinion. It just looks so good. Really awesome. These do lift up a little bit, but we'll go into that later on. Love that. Love the little bits of like, oh, there's gonna be some headlights here or there. So like even here, similar to what was on a shoulder, obviously a smaller kind of size, but those little details, really amazing. Just the chest as well looks amazing. The torso looks amazing. Decepticon icon area looks so good. Yeah, just looks really nice. Legs look awesome as well. I love the little gold bit here. It just kind of adds a little bit of pop from a different kind of color, especially from the purple. Nice contrast there. Really nice looking legs. His feet, super nice looking as well. Really, just the profile of this foot looks really good. Like it's a solid robot foot. Love it. Absolutely love it. Underside as well. Basic, but nice and clean. Really love the way that this thing looks. Haven't even spoken about his arms. Really, well, actually I did a bit, but let's just go over it again. Really nice looking arms. His hands, by the way, look awesome as well. Let's open them up. They look awesome. Sorry, I couldn't even see that, but his hands look very awesome as well. So yeah, there's going to be a lot to kind of really zoom in on and stuff, but I think we'll be here forever. But yeah, it's a really nice looking figure. Oh, of course, we can't forget about his unmasked head as well. So giving that a closer look, you can see the scars on his face. Very cool looking. Very cool looking. Could be a bit more professionally done, I suppose. It looks a little bit cheap. A little bit. That's just me being completely nitpicky though. But I love it. I love that the detail of the scar kind of goes up onto his helmet bit as well. That's really cool. Really nice looking stuff. So articulation wise, some things are a little bit tricky for me to do right now, and I'm not going to push this thing to the full limit. So with the head, you kind of saw me do it a little bit. So it moves up a little bit like so, and then down. His chin kind of hits there. Looks left and right, side to side. You can see. With the mask, it's going to limit it just slightly, just because he's got a little bit of a chin on the mask, but otherwise it's pretty much the same. The shoulders, by the way, sorry, not the shoulder, the chest fins here do move up and down like this, so it gives him a little bit of clearance should you want to move his arms a bit, and you definitely will want to move those so you don't want to clip these and snap it off by accident. His arms then can rotate 360 like so, both arms, and then you've got a little bit of movement here to kind of give you that extra flexibility and range of motion. His arms do come out a little bit, you can see at the back, so these are not out, these are out. There we go. This bit here on the shoulder does lift up. It lifts up a little bit more on this shoulder versus this one is not as much for some reason. Just kind of gets stuck and then resets. So it gives you a little bit of extra range of motion. You get a little bit of a flap here on the shoulder too. So should you want to lift his arm all the way up there, bit more motion there. Without it, it'd be kind of there. So good thing that I've added that. There's twist over here as well. And then for the bicep, I'm gonna bend it like so. Let's try and do that. There we go. Nice bend on the bicep. He's a big chunky robot, so this is plenty good for that. So extend that again. Then for the hand, his hand does rotate, kind of move up and down. You got a hidden joint, which is this pull out here. Now if you pull out too much, then the hand will come off. So just clip it back in. You hear a click, there we go. And then you can extend it out like that, and it still sometimes does come off. So just clip the hand back in. That might happen a little bit too frequently for some people. So just be mindful of that. His hands, right, I like his hands. They're very cool. I like that every individual finger, you can kind of move the joint in two places, like so. You can see, just by the way, with his hands, because they're claws, they do dig into your thumbs a bit, and they can be a little bit painful, honestly speaking. They are a little bit painful, but yeah, I love the way his hands are. Downside with the hands though, that's could be a downside. Downside with the fingers, I mean, is the fact that the fingers do come off. That was quite easy, you saw that. So it may or may not happen with you, but once you do play around with the figure a bit more, in terms of especially grappling or grabbing some weapons and things like that, you'll start realizing that some of the fingers do kind of pop out of the socket a little bit too easily. Just be careful where you're doing that, because you don't want to lose the finger or have your pet run away with it. Happens the same thing on the other hand as well, so be very mindful of that. Otherwise though, I do like the hands. I love the way they're sculpted, love the way they look, a bit sharp. So again, be mindful of that too. Going back down to the midsection, so torso wise, he can lean left and right. It's like a face, you see what I'm saying? It's like a face. Hello, hello. So yeah, he can lean like so. He's got a twist here as well. So this waist bit here, the crotch area, does move forward a bit, but the twist kind of locks there and again there. To lean him forward, you'll see as you lean him forward, the Decepticon chest bit goes in. It's got that linkage thing, they call it. Back again, and then lean him back. And show you that again. So pretty good for the torso area. His legs now are pretty impressive actually. So his legs can lift up straight up like so, and you can see this little thin bit on the crotch area does lift up to allow for a little bit of clearance, but still be careful of it. Lifts up really nice amount off to the side as well, and then on this joint here it does move 360 if you wanted it to. There we go, sideways as well. So really nice motion right there. It's quite tight for me, so when I do try and activate this, I tend to activate the thigh swivel instead, and that kind of locks in both sides. Just be careful when you do the thigh swivel though, because you'll see when you do it that way, it locks. And then if you do it the other way, I feel like it's going to be scratching this bit. I know for sure it's scratching it, because if you look carefully, there's a little bit of a paint scratch right there. So the same thing could happen on the other side as well. So just be careful and mindful of that. With the knee, this guy has a really good knee joint. Take a look. How amazing is that knee joint for a mech figure, right? I'm sure other mech figures do this. Like Gundam before Metal Build had that as well. My last video was of Storm Kyo Kusanagi, and his knee joint was rubbish compared to this. Look at this. This is amazing. Same as the linkage form with the Decepticon icon, this thing here does move on its own. So when you extend the leg or bend it, that will move on its own. So you don't need to do anything with that. So that's pretty cool. Moving down then to the foot, this bit is really stiff for me. Again, it's probably a good thing that it's quite stiff, because you don't want it to be crazy loose, and then again it doesn't really work as a figure. So it's got the up and down motion like so. The down is just kind of limited, it's just flat footed. Got a toe hinge there. What doesn't really work for me, or it does work, but this is a stiff bit, is the pivot is just it's so hard to do. You can see, there we go, I've moved it a little bit, I hope you noticed. Very hard to do, and because of the protruding bits on his foot here, you'll see it's actually kind of painful to do as well, because it's so stiff. You've got to apply so much force on it. It just kind of digs into your hands, and yeah, just yeah, it's a bit hard to do that one. I had to spend a lot of time just kind of loosening it up a bit. But it's probably better that it's that way, to be quite honest. There's a lot to cover with this Tarn figure, and I won't be surprised if I've missed out a couple of things here and there. If I have missed out anything, then just leave a comment below. Let me know what I have missed out. If you've got any questions on this as well, I'll try and get back to you on those ones. There's a lot to offer with this figure, I think. Of course, it doesn't transform, which I know might put off some people, especially given the price. But also, what people need to understand is collectibles have different price brackets, different kind of quality that they're aiming for within those price brackets. And for me, this one, though it is a very, very, very expensive figure, it's not the most expensive collectible bracket out there, right? For example, Prime One Studios, they charge you, $1,000 upwards for some of their museum grade statues. They don't do anything. They don't transform. So for me, this is a very nice piece. I like it, personally speaking. If other people are going to argue against it, fair enough. Honestly, that's fair enough. But for me, I love this figure and I'm very, very glad I got it. Remember, this is a birthday present to me from my brother and sister. So I'm very thankful to them for picking this up for me. They got this from Kapow Toys. I actually told them where to get it from. They got it from Kapow Toys for £345. That's going to be around $400 in the US. So like I said, it's a very expensive item. A lot of this line of figures, this whole Kuro Kuri line of figures, none of them are cheap. I think the cheapest is maybe about $300. Star Saber is 400 plus, Megatron is 400 plus, so I expect those prices to kind of creep upwards even more. Just that's how manufacturers are. They always end up creeping their prices upwards, which is a shame, but it's a very, very, very solid looking item. I do love it, honestly. I could keep going on and on about how much I think this is awesome, but I think you get the point. I'm gonna maybe go back and try and source the Star Saber figure because I was very interested in it way back, but it was just so expensive at the time. But they've got Victory Leo coming out, which combines with Star Saber, and that looks absolutely amazing in my opinion. On top of that, they've got Megatron, which is supposed to be due out this year, but there's been some delays. That looks amazing too. I love the black and purple colorway on that one. They've got the black Optimus Prime as well, which looks super cool as well. So Nemesis Prime, that looks really good as well. And then they're also interestingly doing an interpretation of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Megazord. So that is very appealing to me because I'm more of a Power Rangers fan than I was on Transformers. I'm going to see how that kind of evolves in terms of the actual look of the figure once they've got more than just the illustration, plus the pricing on it too. So that's very interesting. The other thing about these figures is if you do buy exclusive figures, if you do buy these, from say D4 Toys, you can get the option parts as an exclusive bonus. That's going to vary from figure to figure. So for Tarn, for example, it would be say a clean mask, and Megatron, another example, you'll get a weapon case. Up to you, case by case basis, figure it out if that's worth it for you, because sometimes they're cool parts, sometimes they're not. And then the prices are a little bit different maybe as well. So I think it's like a $20 price difference. But I think if you buy from D4 Toys, they don't do a payment plan, which is a shame. So I'm hoping they kind of offer the option parts to something like Sideshow, who do offer payment plans, and that will be a lot more interesting and appealing to people like me within the UK or even US residents as well that don't want to pay $400 plus up front. So that's just adding that flexibility would be super, super cool. If you do want to get this figure and you're able to afford it quite easily, honestly, I think just don't even think about it. Just get it. Whether it's this particular figure or another one within this same line of 3K figures, then definitely pick one up because they are really amazing to look at and really great to kind of just pose and things like that as well. Obviously, be careful because they're very expensive figures. You don't want to break anything, but I absolutely love it. I totally do recommend it. But I understand, completely do understand that it's a very, very expensive toy at the end of the day. So yeah, leave that up to you. Let me know what you think as well and what you think of this line, what you want to see more from this line, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.